Good afternoon. On behalf of our president, Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, our provost, Dr. Anthony Wucho, the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Bernard Mayer, I'd like to welcome you to the 27th annual James A. Porter Colloquium. And that deserves a hand. For an arts organization, and particularly one dealing with art historical dialogue and scholarship, to have been in existence for over a quarter of a century is indeed important and worth honoring and recognizing. Those of you who I have not met, I'm Gwen Everett, the Associate Dean for the Division of Fine Arts and Director of the Gallery here at Howard University, and it is a pleasure to greet you and to see you here on this very important weekend. The program outlines that this is the 50th anniversary of the Black Arts Movement. Some of us who lived through it might hate to remember that it's been 50 years, but this program honors this extraordinary achievement in the arts, and that's the arts with the plural, because it was indeed an interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary movement. The artists who worked in creating this distinctive movement, some of them are here today as invited speakers, as art historians and scholars. They've been asked to reflect and also to assess the cultural impact of this national movement. And it's not lost on many of those of you here in the audience and many of those who were participants that we're holding it here at Howard. Howard is uniquely central in this dialogue. Those of you who may know the poet activist Leroy Jones, or Amir Baraka, who was an alumnus of the English department here at Howard and helped not only to launch the literary as well as the theater aspects of this movement, as well as the conversations on aesthetics come through his days here at Howard. And those of you who are aware of the developments in the art department under the tutelage of Jeff Donaldson, who was one of the founding members of AfriCobra, and when he became chair of the art department at Howard, here at Howard in 1970, recruited some of the members of that organization to become faculty members here to continue that tradition. So we're central in our involvement, so this makes this conversation today even more important. I'd like to simply make one note as a disclaimer. Most art historical conferences are based on secondary sources, sometimes first-person sources. Historians will bring forward their thoughts about a movement or about an artist. Well, today we have so many people in the audience who lived through this experience. We're talking about lived history, not past history. And in fact, the conversation is about the past and the present. So if presenters, an individual might interrupt you and might present a reflective moment that might differ from what you read in the paper or read in a scholarly publication, please accept their remarks as part of this history in the making, because part of this conference is about historical dialogue. And in fact, I'd like to recognize Dr. Floyd Coleman, who's here today, for his foresight and vision to establish the colloquium as a dialogue. As Dr. Coleman has said, he could have used simply the term conference, but he wanted it to be a dialogue. So the term colloquium is not simply an academic term trying to be different, but indeed it was purposefully selected to be a dialogue among art historians, among scholars and artists in the field, in shaping our views about this discipline. I'd like to also make note of the fact that this does not happen overnight. It took months of planning, thinking, discussing, considering, making offers to possible speakers, some who were unable to be here because of conflicting schedules. But I'd like to point out and thank publicly the planning committee, the faculty who helped on that committee, and the volunteers who did hourlessly and tirelessly to help bring this program to fruition today. So those of you who are here in the audience, please stand so that we can thank you. Professor Carmichael, Professor Harvey, Dr. Locke, Anderson, and others. And if you don't see them here, it means that they're working, because the work continues. I'd like to also make note of the fact that the program celebrates the achievements of artists and art historians, and tomorrow's gala will indeed do that. And if you have not purchased your tickets for tomorrow's event, I'm sure they will be delighted to have you join the group by purchasing tickets even today. We will honor the achievements of Alonzo Davis, Valerie Maynard, Ben Jones, and Michael Harris. Extraordinary artists, scholars, and art historians who have set forth much of what we will be discussing today. I'd like to now bring to the podium Dr. Anthony McCatron, who's the chair of the Department of Art, to bring you further greetings and to set off today's events. Thank you very much for coming, and hope to see you for the faculty exhibition opening this evening over in the Blackburn Gallery Lounge, and all day tomorrow as we continue this exciting weekend. Thank you.